Hello and welcome to the Copper Coast, one of the most spectacular sections of the Waterford coastline here in Southern Ireland. I'm Tina Keating from Keating and Stone, a unique geo-education and jewellery making business, born out of my love of geology and the landscape, minerals and gems and metalwork. I'm a Goldsmith, Gemologist and a Geologist, and I was for over 8 years the Geologist for the Copper Coast Geopark here. I am also a heritage specialist with the Heritage in School scheme, a Heritage Council initiative, and it is my pleasure today to take you on a journey along this 25-kilometre stretch of coastline and through 460 million years of Waterford's history. This 25-kilometre stretch of coastline is now a designated UNESCO Geopark, but back in 2001 it was awarded European Geopark status because of its spectacular geology and, of course, its rich mining history. The best exposures of our geological heritage can be seen along the coastline here and has attracted volcanologists, scientists who study volcanoes, since the early 19th century, and it provides great opportunities to study submarine volcanoes, that is, volcanoes happening on the ocean floor. The geology here is interpreted as two separate volcanic episodes. They're known informally as the Bunmahon volcano, the first episode, which was a gentle, runny volcanic episode, and rocks from this phase of volcanism can be seen from Bunmahon stretching west to Stradbally. The second phase of volcano was called the Kilfarrassy volcano. This was a much more explosive, much more violent, more mature volcano because there was a 5 million year time gap between both episodes. And the rocks from this episode can be seen then from Bunmahon stretching eastward to Kilfarrassy. It's a wonderful, as I said, a wonderful area if you are geologically inclined or interested in geology, or even if you're not. The scenery is absolutely spectacular. There are some fabulous bays and coves along the way, beautifully secluded, hidden little gems. But if you are coming, please be aware it is tidal. So a lot of the beaches and bays are cut off when it's high tide. There's also some fascinating minerals and rocks to see. The beautiful copper staining, gorgeous oranges, greens, blue coloration in the cliffs, and you will also see some brassy flecks resembling gold. You may see those along the cliffscape as we move along through the Copper Coast. These look like gold, but they're not. They're actually pyrite, nicknamed Fool's Gold because it did fool many a prospector in the past, thinking that they had struck lucky. We don't have gold here. What we do have is silver. It's gone now. And we also had copper. The ruins behind me here in Tankardstown are the remnants of a once thriving 19th century copper mining industry. This area was intensely mined for copper extensively between 1825 and 1879. There were two main districts. The first was in Knockmahon, which is closer to Bunmahon village as we head west along the road here, and the second district of mining was this one here in Tankardstown. The area was explored in the early 1820s by two mining companies. The first was the Mining Heritage of Ireland, and there was the Hibernian. The Mining Company of Ireland, they explored east of the River Man, and the Hibernian explored the west side of the River Man, and it was the Mining Company of Ireland struck lucky. The area, the mine covers at least 68 acres, and it was completely designed and planned by Cornish mine captains. The mines travel landwards, but they also extended out for some distance beneath the sea. In this area here, we can see the remains of two engine houses. All work, which started in Knockmahon, had finished by 1850 because the load was exhausted, but they found a new load at this site here. So the two buildings here are two engine houses. They each had their own coal boiler, but they shared one chimney. The shaft directly ahead of us here is called Heron's shaft, and that had three main purposes. The first one was access to the mine for the miners, so they could descend and ascend using ladders to go up and down into the shafts. The second purpose, it brought up the ore, and the third purpose was to expel water out of the mine. These mines, as I said, extended out under the sea. They needed to be pumped out regularly because they were constantly flooding. The water was not brought to the surface, it was expelled through adits, which are the horizontal tunnels that we see. You can see the holes in the cliff. This is what they were, and they expelled the water through there. The whole operation was run by steam. We can see the remains of two engine houses here. There was a third engine house across the road, and that was used to wind up the little railway system they had, because the ore was brought up from the mine, brought in wagons down to the dressing floor in Bunmahon, where it was broken up and processed, and then put into leather sacks to be brought to the storage yard for transport to Swansea, as there was no smelting done here in Ireland. In its heyday, the mine employed over 2,000 people, and that was quite an amount of people to be working in this area. And when you look around today, it's hard to imagine what life must have been like back then. Chalcopyrite was the main copper ore that was mined here, and it was found in very steeply dipping quartz veins that went very deep underground, and as I said, also out underneath the seabed. By 1879, the mine had closed. There was a lot of factors due to this. There was a fluctuation in copper prices, and new sources had been found in the Americas, so it made it no longer viable to continue searching for copper here once this lode had been worked out. It left the area completely devastated. All the miners packed up. Many of them emigrated to Butte in Montana to work in the mines there. It had been a thriving mining industry, and it all was left with the remnants of once really profitable mining industry that had at one stage been described as one of the most important mining areas in the British Empire. Of course, Ireland at that time was part of the British Empire, and the need for copper was very great at that time because Britain had a huge Admiralty. So the majority of the copper that was taken from these mines was used for copper bottoming the boats, the ships. The ships were made from wood, so as they travelled through the waters, particularly in tropical waters, barnacles, weeds and worms. Barnacles and weeds would have attached to the hull, worms would have bored through it, damaging the ships, and of course the barnacles and the weeds attaching would impede the speed. So by copper bottoming the bottom of the ships, they solved all their problems. Barnacles could no longer attach, and neither could the weeds, and the worms couldn't bore through So they were protecting their hulls and maintaining their speed. So it was vital for the British Empire to have access to lots of copper, and Bunmahon was one of the most important at that time. But alas, in 1879 everything came to a close. They did try a little revamp to see could they open them up again in around 1906, but nothing came of it. So today, instead of a mining industry, they now have a new industry that still takes its lead and utilises the old mining heritage that they have, and it's geotourism. So from an old mining industry that actually took from the earth, they've now reverted back to using this to bring in tourists, and they're using it in a more positive way by using it for tourism and giving back something to the community. So we'll take it from here, we'll take our trip along the coast, and I will tell you more of the story as we move westwards.